I'm so excited to introduce our Direction Not Perfection community today to Dr. Nikia Smith, board certified anesthesiologist, wellness coach, retreat facilitator. Interesting combo. I'm excited to hear about this. And founder of She is Fire Forged. Nikia's mission is very clear to help women get back to themselves, not through perfection, but through permission. And this is why we can be friends. I'm so excited to have you today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
We have so much to unpack together, and I think that a good place to always start is just how did you get to this space of the She is Fire Forged even? I just feel like the journey is always interesting to me. And obviously you started off as an anesthesiologist
Yeah,
and here we are today.
here we are. So I still am a
Mhm.
practicing anesthesiologist, but basically, after working 6 years as an attending anesthesiologist, I was burnt out. And I always tell people to visualize burnout like a big boiling pot of water. You put the water on and you turn the fire on high, but it doesn't start boiling immediately. It takes some time. And so even for the first 5, 10 minutes, you can still stick your hand in there, you're still comfortable. It starts to get warm, it starts to bubble, and then it starts to boil over. But when you get to that bubble, it boils really quickly. And so for me, when I look back at it, after those first few years, I was already kind of in that burnout, but I just didn't recognize it. So that's the main reason why I'm always just sharing my story because I was there and didn't know it. So I was doing what most people do, looking for a different job, maybe a different type of schedule, maybe I should move, just different types of things to change my environment, which I did. I got a new job, I moved across the country, and when I got here in Las Vegas, I was still burnt out. Surprise,
Oh,
surprise. I know. I was like, okay, you can't outrun the burnout. So I just got to the deepest point of my burnout, that roaring boil of burnout here. And in my recovery from that is when I decided to create She is Fire Forged because that's how I felt. I'm like a phoenix. I'm rising from the fire. We all get burned, but we don't let it destroy us. We actually learn from it, and that allows us to come back stronger. And that's just kind of where it all just started, just from my personal story, my personal experience, my personal healing and recovery journey. And then just trying to share it with as many women as possible, just so that we don't all think that this is normal and we have to go through it.
mm. I love that piece. And you even say at some point that rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is going to resonate with a lot of ladies listening today. Like, oh, that's interesting. Because we talk about not having busy badges, no busy badges, because there really is in our society this proudness of getting stuff done, being on task, knocking through the day, when we've stripped away the rest piece,
Yes.
which you and I should unpack too. I also was going to say that I was reading on your website, you mentioned in your story you had a point where you got into your car at 3 a.m. and just broke down. Is that
Yes.
kind of your point where you're like, I have to change, something's
That
wrong?
Yes, that was the critical like breaking point. I had just worked a very long shift. I was just stressed, exhausted, and I just couldn't emotionally regulate anymore. I mean, I think that's part of like we're just so good at regulating and
Mhm.
putting all of our energy into pushing through and not really like tapping in, but all my emotions just seeped out and it was every single one. I was sad, upset, depressed, angry, anxious, worried, helpless, and I just felt all of those at once. And then I was crying and I was like, how did I end up here? Like, how is this my life? I've worked so hard. I became a doctor. Shouldn't I be happy? Like, or happier than this? Like, I don't know. It was just the mess. And then the realization came and it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's your life and only you can change it.
Mhm.
And so I had to take back my life. I had to reclaim myself and not just get so caught up in the work, the hustle, the productivity, the proving, the people pleasing, the perfection, which all dragged me to burnout. So that was my critical point.
Yeah, and I think so many people can hear you say that and agree and be maybe still in that spot of burnout, but have
Mm-hmm.
no idea how to take back their life, or it's so terrifying to think about changing all the things that would need to change that it's like it's just maybe easier to live in the discomfort. Do you see
Yeah.
that?
I do see that. And I know that it's a true feeling, but it's not a true reality because that's
Mm.
how we are. We're women. We're like, oh, to change my life requires a major overhaul. That is so much work. But it's not because all you're going to really do is change one small thing. And that can start by, like you said, reclaiming rest, or just taking 5 minutes per day to yourself, or getting back into that hobby that you've been wanting to do but don't have the time for, or whatever it is. And so that's when I coach women. I'm like, yeah, it seems like a lot because you want to change everything all at once. And we know that that's not successful. You can just change one thing at a time, and then you just add on and add on and add on. And so that's what I had to tell myself, because in my mind, it was burn it all down. It was like, quit my job, move somewhere else, start over. It was like, start completely a whole new life. And so I know
Yes.
that that's what you're feeling like. It's a lot. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, I started with just the one phrase of saying, this shift that I had, like, that was so like stressful. I was like, I'm not doing this again. So that was like my first boundary. So then I'm like, I'm not going to be working this many hours again. So whenever it comes up again that I'm going to have to work this many hours, I'm going to say no. And then the
Mm.
next thing was like, okay, I need to rest more. So I'm going to start prioritizing getting my sleep and prioritizing doing other restful activities as opposed to just focusing on my energy on work. But I didn't do all of them at once. It started with just one thing, and then once that was out of the way, the next thing. And so it's a slow journey, but slow and steady, right? Slow and sustainable. We don't
Mhm.
want anything super drastic that we can't maintain.
So this is great that I have you today because I was
Mhm.
just having this conversation with a physician client yesterday.
Mhm.
And we were talking about, because she's in the recovery process after a back surgery, and we were just talking about the idea of why isn't she showing up to her PT? And I said, I have to ask the question of, do you really have the belief system that these small little actions are going to result in big success? And this whole idea that we all could have a belief system, but especially our high achieving women
Mhm.
like yourself, like this client, that the idea of asking the slow and steady, the little by, sounds like everybody can hear it and go, I think I have it. But the idea of that high achieving person saying, I've done everything else in my life to full capacity, and now I'm supposed to put on the brakes and
Yep.
say, this little bit's going to work for me. She's like, you nailed it. Like, I don't have that belief system. So, how do you work with your clients around kind of rebuilding new belief systems that small things can work?
So for me, and that's definitely, and her being a physician, I can totally see that. But it's so funny how much we forget that we did the slow and steady, right? We don't believe in it now, but it got us through medical school. You didn't just
Mm.
show up to medical school, ace it in 2 days, and pass all of those tests. We took a lot of tests. You had to study piece by piece. So with my physician clients, it's easy for me to make that comparison. It's like you learned anatomy system by system. You learned the process system by system, and then you put it all together to become the doctor. So you know that this is part of it. But it is a hard rewiring, because I do think that once we kind of get to that level and we've achieved, it's easy to forget the
Mm.
process that we already went through. And so we have to ground in that. And then secondly, it's like a lot of my clients have children. And so it's easy to say, I don't believe that, but what are you teaching your kids? How to ride a
Mm.
bike, how to walk, how to talk. Like, these are the pieces, right? You learn with one word, and then two words, and then a sentence. And so we have to step it down a bit and like kind of go back to where we started. But it does take some time, and it depends. So I try to use different examples based on what they're talking about. But I do know, like, I can speak for myself. Like, yeah, I felt that same way. And this is what I realized. And practice makes perfect. Every no, every boundary, every time you prioritize yourself is how you build a habit. And so that's what we're working on, building the habit of reworking our brain.
Right. Right. And to your point, it takes a ton of repetition
Yeah.
where I feel like it's easy to feel that we just show up and it's going to change, and then we're disappointed when it doesn't change. But
Mhm.
we're talking a lot of reps.
A lot.
Yes. I love that you gave the example of when people have children, because I think that resonates with a lot of individuals. They would not look at a kid and be like, I can't believe you can only do that on your bike right now, or I can't believe that you barely got any playing time with your new sport you're trying. We'd
Yeah.
pep them up, right? We'd tell them this, you're just starting, but we don't do that for ourselves.
Ourselves. So it's like
Hmm.
so different. So it's just a little bit of reframes that we have to work through. But I
Hmm.
said, like, it's fine to have that feeling. And that's why I like to share. Like, I had that feeling. I was like, there's no way I can change my life without a drastic overhaul. But it literally just starts with small things that compound upon each other. And we all know about compounding interest because we all have student loans. So you know how
Yes.
that adds up quickly.
Yes, that's a great example. Okay, I need to set up this story because I feel like you have a beautiful story to follow it.
Mhm.
But what I notice with my weight loss clients and a lot of my community, this is yes, the little by little by, but it's also this idea that because we're talking about rest, even radical rest or like calming down, that when we're not giving our body something that it ultimately needs, we go seek it out somewhere else. We go seek it out through food or through alcohol or through shopping. So I would love to hear your weight loss story. You and I were talking off mic before we hit record, and just kind of like what you have seen unravel with this radical rest piece in your life and how this has played out in your journey.
I would love to share that. Yeah. I would say like at my highest, and I don't want to be like a scale counter, but this is just for perspective, obviously. At my highest, I was probably around 230 pounds, and I'm not a very tall person. I'm like 5'3", 5'4". So I was definitely in the obese category, even if you don't believe in that descriptor. But it was just not healthy for me. But it was something that happened slowly and steadily. You gain this weight over time. So I think as I was burnt out, as I was feeling exhausted and too exhausted to work out or too low energy to work out, as I was dealing with my burnout and not feeling my best and coping with drinking wine or eating popcorn or whatever it was, I started to gain this weight. And it got to the point where I just wasn't comfortable. And like I said, like, I don't know what everybody's weight is. Like, your weight is wherever you feel comfortable. And I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with how I looked. I wasn't comfortable with how I was moving. I couldn't comfortably put my shoes on or tie my shoes. And I couldn't sit certain ways comfortably. Like a certain chair, I would see it and be like, no, this chair is not going to work. So I was like, I'm too young for this. I am too young to feel like this old. I felt really old in my body. So I decided that I had to do something. And so, like I said, the first step of me losing weight was actually getting better sleep because I wasn't getting good sleep. So I was working all day, having insomnia and anxiety about going back to work the next day, and I wasn't rested. So I was literally running off of caffeine and the cortisol is not helpful. But if you don't have the energy in your body to work out, you can't work out. Your body requires energy to move. So I started with just getting better sleep. So that way, when I woke up or when I, at the end of my workday, I actually wasn't completely depleted and had some energy. And then I started walking. They say like walking is the best kind of everything because it's kind of like physical movement, but you're resting your mind, you're connecting with nature. So it was a way for me to try to get a couple of things done in one moment. And that's just how it started. And then I eventually started going to Pilates because my knees were really hurting. And I did go to physical therapy and it helped a little, but not a lot. And I was like, okay, something about this is working, but I need more. So that's
Mhm.
how I made my connection. I started doing Pilates because it's low impact, but I still needed to strength train without feeling like I was going to die. Like, I'm not a CrossFit kind of girly. Okay. No marathons, no CrossFit here. I need something that's strength, but low impact. And so that's when
Yeah.
I started my Pilates journey, strengthening my muscles, becoming more flexible, getting balance because I also have terrible balance. I could fall on a flat ground. And so I'm just like, this is just not good. And so that's just kind of where my journey amplified because I found the movement that I actually enjoyed. So I started looking forward to
Mhm.
Pilates. So now that's still part of my regimen. I go to Pilates 3 to 5 times a week and I walk my dog twice per day. And that is pretty much the extent of my workout plan. But part of it that's really big, and I'll share this now, like I said, the rest and also the hydration. I was not drinking enough water because I didn't have time to stop whatever I was doing and pee. And I noticed that's a very common thing amongst
Yeah.
women. Like, I can't drink, I can't stop and go to the bathroom. So
Yes.
that was like the second thing. So it was like I started with resting, and then that allowed me to have energy to move. And I started saying, I am worthy of drinking water, and they can wait for me to pee. They can wait the 2 minutes it takes. Whoever it is can wait 2 minutes. So that's the beginning of my journey. So it's the small things that the same things we always hear: drink more water, sleep better, just do whatever movement you can do. But when you do those consistently and you create them in a sustainable way and you can keep it up, you like it, you look forward to it. That's the part because I used to dread working out. Like, to me, like working out was like a punishment. I was like, oh, I know I have to do it. But now I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what new thing we're going to do today, or I can't wait to see this new path that I found to walk the dog. So you have to just find the way that you can move and enjoy it, and definitely give yourself the permission to rest so that you can actually have the energy and capacity to work out.
Oh my goodness. Amen, sister. Preach, because
Mhm.
this is so good. I just feel like you've such beautiful examples. Your journey is one that I wish I could wrap up and tie in a bow and hand to somebody with the belief system of you too could enjoy a workout. You too could enjoy these other pieces that don't feel necessarily available to people
Yeah.
until they find the one thing that works for them, which is that when that moment happens, wasn't that such an aha to be like, oh, I do like movement. I just didn't like that movement.
Yes, it's so great. That's why I tell people to try different things, because people will tell you what it's like. Yoga is stretching and Pilates is just like yoga. Pilates and yoga are not alike at all. And I don't really like yoga. And so I was like, I won't like Pilates. Very different, you
I
know?
love Pilates.
And
Yeah.
so you have to just try the different things. And there's so many different creative workouts now. So you can be out here on a bungee or a trampoline, I don't know, jump
Mhm.
roping, whatever it is that you actually like to do. Like that can be your movement. It doesn't have to look a certain way.
I totally agree. And I think we could even transfer this over into food talk
Mhm.
that food doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to follow like a specific diet plan. Put foods in the house that you actually like and you want to cook and make. And was there any big overhauls in the kitchen area for you with weight?
Those ones weren't as big of overhaul as I would say like my movement. I would say that once I started actually resting and recovering, I do
Mm,
think that a lot of the cravings I had did
mm,
get quieter. The cortisol definitely gets you into those sugary and sweet cravings.
yeah.
And I was always trying to eat pretzels and Cheez-Its and stuff like that. And I still enjoy those things, but I don't feel like I have to eat as much. And now I do follow that rule where it's like, if I feel hungry, I try to drink a cup of water first and see if I still feel hungry or if I'm just thirsty. Because I actually know that I was like living in a chronic state of dehydration
Mm.
for years. Most women, most doctors are. So I was like, okay, let's get this hydration together. And it helped reset your taste buds too. It was like a lot of things, but I think that drinking water helps me start to eat less. I don't not eat anything. Like I don't restrict anything.
That's
I eat
true.
whatever I want. But if I do find that it's something that's coming up more frequently, I'm like, oh, why do I suddenly want ice cream every day? And then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll just take a couple of days off and try to reset my taste buds. But if I want something, I just try to have it, because I feel like if I have it in a smaller thing right then, I won't super crave it later. If I deny myself, then I'm going to eat the whole pint. Like that's it.
No,
So
no, agreed. I am so non-deprivational thinking
yeah,
and nothing, to your point, nothing's off limits. We can have whatever. It's just, and it's interesting. I love that you're using water as your example for the hydration piece because it's always the dumb things that we
yeah,
don't go to first for the reset button. I feel like for me, sleep. If
yeah.
I'm craving things, I can instantly go take a nap and the cravings go away. It's like, I'm tired, go. But it's hard to choose sleep, especially limited hours in the day. And then the hydration piece doesn't feel like it's going to do enough. And lo and behold, it does. So it's just interesting that it really is those little. I've noticed reading a book to
Yeah.
allow myself to go read for a half an hour resets different cravings. So this is that rest piece that I just think women get guilty going, I'm going to go
Mhm.
do that for myself.
I do like to go for a walk. I'm like, let me go for a walk and then enjoy like a sparkling water and then see how I feel.
Mhm. Yes, you sound like you're really good at taking an intentional pause and then I'll see. It's like nothing's off limits. I'm just going to pause before I go to that craving or that whatever. So thank you. That's good.
And
Okay.
that takes
Yeah.
time, people. That's not something you just start doing. Just want to put it out there. Like all of this stuff takes time. Even if it's just okay, I'll just wait 1 minute. And then if I still want it, I'll have it. Like you don't have to wait 30 minutes. You just wait 1 minute and you just like take a couple of breaths and decide if you still want it. Same thing with shopping, right? They say put it in your cart, walk away, come back, and if you still want it, then maybe. So
Great. Thank you. Yes, great example. I was going to ask you about timing because I think when people really, I'm going to say, jack up their cortisol system, their
mhm.
central nervous system, cortisol levels, it takes a bit to come back out of that. What was your time, speaking of time, what's your time frame on where you're like, I really do feel more regulated now?
So that takes a longer than you think, especially because most of us are still trying to become regulated in the system that we are already in. You know, we're not
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
drastically changing where we're at. So you're trying to monitor yourself, but you're still functioning the system that got you there. And that's to your point. This is an urgency culture. Oh, reply to my email, do this right away. And
Mhm.
so that permission to just take one breath before I respond or take one breath before I decide. It started with just one breath. And now I try to push it for like, how long do you think? And, is it really that important? Can it wait till tomorrow? I'll start talking myself into that now. But first, I'm
Yes.
like, I don't have to respond. I'm in the car. I can wait till I get where I'm at to respond. Or I can wait until I finish this to respond or to decide. But to
Mm.
feel completely regulated, it honestly took a couple of years. And so I want people to know, like, it's not like you just go away for the week or go away for a weekend or even a month. They say it takes at least 3 to 6 months for your cortisol to balance out. And that's just the cortisol. And
Mm.
it's not going to balance out that quickly because, like I said, you're probably still working, you're still momming, you're still adulting, you're still living and caretaking. So if you're trying to lower and balance while actively doing things, it's going to be a slower process, but it's possible.
Yes. Gosh, I was thinking with that, just again, settling in, having people help on that's a hard ask out of people, right? But
Mhm.
even on the scale, I feel like I've noticed when it relates to cortisol or it relates to again like dysregulation, they could be doing so many things right and seeing so many benefits, but the scale's not budging yet. Like, did you feel like there was this lagging or lull where it was so many good things and didn't see anything, and then all of a sudden it worked in your favor?
Yeah, for me, the skill was definitely lagging. So I didn't put too much into that because I'm not a scale person, but I know people are like weigh daily or weigh weekly. For
Mm.
me, the scale did lag. Like I felt like, oh, I'm not really losing weight, but all my clothes are fitting differently, and my chin is looking different, my skin is looking different. So I could see the effects. And people were just really responsive. They were like, "Oh, you're looking like really good," and I'm like, "I looked bad before."
Yeah,
No,
I
I'm
know.
just
Thanks
joking.
a lot.
But they're like saying, "Oh, you're glowing," or "You're looking like not skinny, but like what was the word? It's so good though."
Vibrant.
Yeah, so it's like you're looking vibrant, and you're just looking like, oh gosh, what was the word she used? But it was a really nice word. I can't, but it wasn't because I felt like I was getting stronger, right? Like I don't want to look skinny. I actually want to look strong and healthy. Like I
Yeah.
want to be strong, and
Yeah.
so it was just people were really responding to me before I actually saw on the scale. But the stress cycles go up and down, so you might
Mhm.
still hold on to that cortisol, water weight, whatever it is that you're retaining. And then if you are actively, I think I'm also hopefully building muscle. So I was like, maybe I just have more muscle, but it is what it is. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. You can be a scale person, but try to get a scale that measures your body fat as well. But definitely just pay attention to how clothes are fitting and how your skin will revitalize, your hair will revitalize, your nails will revitalize. Like when you start taking care of your body starts to just bloom.
Oh, and you probably do this with your clients as well, but just really trying to hone in on multiple areas of success. And I love that
Yeah.
you mentioned the nails, the skin, the hair, everything starts to show up. And I love lab work for that reason. And I'm loving these in-body scales for muscle mass. I'm like, women need to focus on muscle mass, and it's really fun to see your muscle mass grow. Like we're
It's
setting
very
ourselves up
nice.
for so much success
Yeah.
that yeah, it's great. Well, you have a couple buzzwords that I want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because one of the things that you say, choose softness over survival. I was like, oh, I have questions around that.
Yeah.
What are you talking around when you say that?
So softness is something that like pretty much is a whole session for like a client of mine because softness is a really big term and it means a lot of different things to people, right? But I just feel like as women and high achieving women, we're taught like to the hustle to push through. And I think sometimes we feel like if it's hard and I conquer it, then I'm worthy or I'm good or whatever. And so we've already know that life is hard, period. Life comes at you fast. It will be hard. So you are allowed to receive or ask for softness in the areas that you can get it. Like if someone offers to help you, then say yes. Don't make that hard. Make it soft. Let someone help you. Let someone do it. Let someone support you or whatever it looks like for you. So it's just something I want people to get more comfortable with, like, especially women. We have it hard enough as it is. We don't need to make it harder on ourselves. And that's part of the rest thing, too. Like, I feel like that's part of the hardness. If I complete the entire list, then I can deserve to rest, or I can rest then and not feel guilty about it. But I'm like,
Mhm.
if you're pushing through this list and you're already tired or exhausted or mentally depleted, it's going to take you longer and you'll be more inefficient. if you took a nap first, you would wake up revitalized and ready, and you would be able to tackle your list. Not saying you have to tackle it, not saying you have to think of it that way, but that's like usually the first step in the justification process of, okay, this is your reason, but this is also a different thought around that. And how do you feel about that? So
Right.
it's just, don't make it hard on yourself.
It's yes. I had chills as you're saying, like somebody offers to help, you're allowed to choose the softness of thank you
Yeah,
and
thanks.
take a yes.
Thank you.
And that we could use that whole thought process in so many different areas
Mhm.
throughout the day. Yeah, that we do want to make everything hard and life's already hard. I have a community, a membership, and I think one of the things that you notice when you're with these women all the time is that there isn't a day that goes by where something really hard's not happening for somebody, whether it's loss or whether it's kiddo things or what. There's just so it's like you have to celebrate the easier moments or else there are zero easy moments.
I'm like, it's
And
already hard enough. I mean, there's nothing you can
mhm.
do about it. So whenever those moments come that allow you, if someone says, "Oh, I'll drop your kid off at home for you," okay,
Thank
that
you.
gives, yeah, thank you, thanks. I mean,
Yes.
that, now you have 30 minutes. You don't have to like sit there, the practice and wait. You can do something. So I just am
Yeah.
like, just let it be soft sometimes, you know?
It's so good. I know what I meant to say earlier too.
Mhm.
Boundaries is getting layered into a lot of your talk without you necessarily shouting that out.
Yes.
But when you say things take time or like we are functioning maybe even in a raised regulation type issue, you were laying boundaries of no's where they
Mhm.
needed to come in or the softness of say yeses to things that you wouldn't have used to. So like that boundary setting was a real skill that you were able to hone in on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boundaries, yeah, boundaries are very important. And I think that, they get a lot of, it's a key word, like, oh, you have to have boundaries. I do think that a lot of women have really strong boundaries in some areas and not other areas. And so figuring out where your weaker boundaries are is a very personal journey. So for me, I felt like I had strong boundaries in certain areas, but at work I had zero boundaries. And I just like, how did I get here? Like I was like, I'm not the person that's afraid to say no. I'm not a person that's like, no, I don't want to do that. But here I am at work. So like, why is this not translating? And unfortunately, well, fortunately, I will say fortunately, but unfortunately, it took me getting to that point. But fortunately, I have a good support and I have good community. And I was talking to a friend, and she was just like, why? Like, why did you do it? Why did you say yes?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I wasn't really given the option to say no, right? It wasn't a yes or no question.
Right.
And so, well, will you do this? No, like, but it was just like, you have to do this. And she was like, I think the answer is still no. And I was like, what? So everybody has a person that just has to call them. That it was a gentle call out, but it was like,
Yes.
you have to, like, you still could have just said no. And I was like, I could have. And she was like, yeah. And so that was again like the beginning of the shift. I'm like, no, oh, we need you to go here and cover this. No, I'm off at 5. Like, sorry.
It's not happening.
All right. But of course, they're not going to ask you in a yes or if someone's encroaching on your boundary, they're
Yeah.
not going to ask you like a yes or no question. They're kind of going to be like, can like they're going to try to persuade you or convince you or
We
guilt
need
you,
you to do
whatever.
this.
We need you or whatever.
Hmm.
And at work, they're really good with either like persuading you by saying, "Oh, we're a team, we're a family. You don't want to let your coworkers down, or you don't want to let so and so down." And
Yeah.
so that can like kind of build on you, but you have to remember like this is your life, and so you're not gonna let them down, but are you willing to let yourself down? And that was the boundary. Like every time I said no, I'm like, am I willing to let myself down? And if I don't look out for me, who else will?
Hmm.
Nobody. And it's slow, it takes time, but you just like slowly just ask yourself these questions. You slowly stop responding so quickly to these asks. Like now when someone asks me to do something, I'm always say, let me think about it, or let me check my calendar. I don't say yes immediately to anything. Even if I want to do it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. Oh, let me check my calendar. And then I just give myself that moment.
Yeah, what a good skill. I love that. And how easy it is. It gives you like a little buffer. Again, you're good at
Yeah.
delaying. You're like good at that pause. It gives you a buffer to think, to like pull your words together and then make the conscious decision. Do you also notice, I feel like when people start practicing boundaries and they
Mm-hmm.
can feel, first of all, I don't think boundaries ever feel good in the moment. I always think it's like an aftermath. It's something later that we get like reprieve and we're like, I'm so glad I held that boundary. But when we get better at them, have you ever noticed that you let a boundary go and then the tolerance of it? I can feel so annoyed with myself so quickly when I know it was a boundary that I let slip. Can you feel that?
I do. And then I sit with that emotion and then remember that we're just human.
Yeah.
So you either you give yourself grace, you're like, dang, I messed up, but it's okay. I remember. Or
Yeah.
you also are human and you have the right to change your mind. I forgot what book I listened to, but that's all she's like, you can change your mind. Like you could have said yes, realize that that
Mhm.
crossed your boundary, and you can go back and
Mhm.
say, hey, yes, I know I agreed to attend that meeting or to work that extra shift, but I actually can't do it.
Yes.
I'm no longer
So
available.
good.
And I know it's hard, but like I said, you do feel better because you already felt like you know how it feels when you let your boundary get crossed. You feel bad. And so it's like you're going to feel bad either way, whether you do it or whether you don't. So you might as well feel bad, but know that you protected and honored yourself. But
Mm.
yeah, I've done that. We're all human. I was like, oh no,
Mhm.
why did I do that?
I know. And then there's like this annoyance all the way up to the event and through the event. And to your point, yes, it would have felt better to just go back and apologize
I was like,
and back
sorry.
out gracefully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because some people
I,
really do that all the time. Like I'm like looking around, I'm like, who does this? Like these people do it. Like they're like, no, I can't make it. No, I'm not coming. And then they're like, I'm like, they just don't feel any guilt about it. So just look at them and be like, they can do it. I can definitely do it.
when it's not like I'm the no woman all the time, I just need
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
Yes, our pastor always talks about truth and grace, and I feel like you're nailing both the truth and the grace piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to hear the truth, and then we need to give ourselves the grace, and it's just a forever balance. And to your point, we're human, and we're never going to get the balance perfect. It's worth working towards.
I just wanted to like just get this out there because you had mentioned something is very important. When you're setting boundaries, when you first set them, you feel like, okay, I'm empowered. I'm going to set this boundary. But when you actually have to enforce it, that's when you start to feel bad. And even if you're saying no, you're going to feel that feeling like you're like, oh, like I know it's for my betterment to say no or decline the request or whatever the boundary is. But for me, what helps was support. And with my work boundary, I had that friend. And so I was like, you're right. I'm going to start to say no. And so every time that they would message me if I was feeling hesitant or like I can't say no, I would tap in with her and she would just support me and be like, do you want to? Like, if you want to do it, then you can say yes. Like, if you want to make extra money or if you want to go to this meeting or if you want to, do whatever, then say yes. It's not like you have to say no to everything. The boundary is not about saying no to everything, it's about saying no to the things that you don't want to do or that will drain you. But I just think if you have a boundary that you feel is going to be really difficult to enforce, especially around work or maybe around family, to find a friend that you can share that boundary with. That way, when you enforce it, they can support you and not praise you, but just say, "Good job, you did it." That helps. It really does. Support helps with everything.
100% agree. And then I also want to add into that that I feel like we have to be very specific with our chosen person, right?
Mhm.
That it doesn't need to be everybody that we're surrounded by. We might not get the right feedback or whatnot, but
Right.
when we have chosen the person for our support, it's game changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And if we don't have that person in our life, then that's kind of part of a good goal ahead of us is to build that community, build those relationships that support us no matter what. Yeah. What am I not asking you about She is Fire Forged? I don't want our time to be up here before we talk about this.
I think you said overall, my journey, my mission is to share my story around burnout, creating sustainable success, kind of just living your best life. Because I want women to truly thrive and not just survive. Life is already hard enough. We deserve to thrive in this life. We only have one. Basically, I just want to spread the word. And like you said, if you don't have support, that's a good place to get a therapist, a coach, whoever it is that you feel like can support you as you build your community, or you can join communities that offer these things like your community and mine. I just don't want them to believe that they are alone with any of these feelings, that any of these obstacles are insurmountable, and that they're expected to handle it alone. That's why
Mhm.
we're here. And my final note is that if you do feel like you're in burnout, there's definitely a way out. The sooner you start, the easier the recovery. And just because you've burned out and recovered once doesn't mean you can't burn out again, because
True.
it's a cycle, and you can burn out from things that you love, like caregiving, entrepreneurship. So
Mhm.
there's just different things to just be on the lookout for. But overall, I want you to just look out and take care of yourself, because if you won't do it, nobody else will.
Thank you. I love that. And you're definitely talking to a caregiver community, a lot of that sandwich generation of taking care of parents and still taking care of kiddos and working, and the burnout is so easy. Yeah. So for everybody who's going, I love her. I want more Nikia in my ears. Where are the best places to find you?
So I'm on all the social media platforms at She is Fire Forged. I'm truly a geriatric millennial. I love email still. So you can email me hello at sheisfireforged.com. I love to talk and share stories. And I have some free resources on my website. So if you go to www.sheisfireforged.com/free, there is two free resources. One is a burnout checklist that has some kind of signs and symptoms that you may be toppling into burnout so that you can evaluate where you are. And then I have an exhaustion quiz. And so once you take the quiz, it tells you what could be the major contributor to your exhaustion and what type of rest that you need. Because I think
Hmm.
people automatically go towards physical rest, but sometimes they need creative rest or they need emotional rest or a different type. And I think that is something that we're often lacking.
Hmm. Which is maybe why reading coming back in
Oh
really
yeah.
worked well for me. I needed that. Interesting. I've never heard it like divided like that with different
Yeah.
types of rest.
Yeah, there's
I will.
7 types, so it's great. And I list all of them because most of if you're like me, it's all of them. But at different times you can see, oh, this is what I'm missing. Like I was sleeping more, but then I wasn't moving my body. And I was sleeping more, but I wasn't creatively stimulating my mind. And so there's different things. And for social rest, it's actually engaging with people who are supportive of you. Because I think we often go into isolation when we're trying to recover. And
Mhm.
sometimes you need isolation, but sometimes you just need that good friend who can give
Right.
you belly laughs all night, you know?
Yes. Yes. The right people, not
Yes,
any
the right,
people,
not
the right
anybody, but the right
people.
one that
Yes.
actually, they feed into you and they charge you up and you're just like, wow, that was so great. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are on my website and I would love to see women taking them and using them and figuring out how to rest better and prevent themselves from burning out.
Yes, we will definitely put those. Will be in the show notes. I'll put
Mhm.
links to your website. Your website's beautiful, by the way. Your website, your resources. And I feel like you've already said it, but I'm going to make you do it again. If you were to wrap your arms around our community and
Uh-huh.
send them out with, like, if you hear nothing else, this is what I like, hope and pray you heard from me.
Uh-huh.
What would that be?
I would say that you are not alone. And so don't expect to get through this alone. We're here for you.
That's simple, right?
Yeah.
You're such a delight. Thank you so much for your time today.
I really enjoyed. I could talk to you all day.
You too. I'm like, we need part two, three, four.
Yeah. So thank
You're
you so
welcome
much
back.
for having me. Oh.
Yes, thank you.